Rahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alif Lam Ra Kitabun Anzalnahu Ilayka Litukhrijan Nasa Min Adh-Dhulumati Ila An-Nuri Bi'idni Rabbihim Ila Siratil Azizil Hamid. Alif Lam Ra. This is a book which we have sent down to you, so that by their Lord's permission you lead out the people from the darkness of ignorance into the light of faith, to the way of the mighty, the owner of praise. One of the manifestations of this beautiful verse is witnessed in the Islamic social system and its impact upon the relationship between men and women, family life and society overall. This system embodies a set of principles, laws and regulations which organize in a comprehensive and perfect manner the relationship between men and women within a society, as well as their rights, roles and responsibilities within marriage and the family unit, to create a pure and positive interaction between the genders, while also maintaining the morals of society, strong and tranquil marriages and harmonious and happy family lives. In this respect, Islam distinguishes and elevates itself above any man-made ideology or system, whether it be capitalism, socialism or otherwise, which deny the need to organize the relationship between men and women and celebrate personal and sexual freedoms, as well as promoting gender equality in family roles and responsibilities, all of which has generated a mountain of social and moral problems for societies, including pervasive crimes against the dignity of women, which form the basis of the birth of the global #MeToo movement. Here in Britain, for example, an investigation by UN Women UK published last year found that 97% of women aged 18 to 24 have been sexually harassed, while recorded rapes and sexual offences in England and Wales have hit a record high, with over 63,000 rapes recorded in just 1 year, statistics which are mirrored in many other secular liberal countries today. The absence of a clear social system within states has also spurred a tsunami of broken marriages and families, and an epidemic of single-parent families, resulting in a pandemic of emotional and psychological turmoil and pain for men, women and children alike. The darkness, therefore, of living in the absence of the laws and system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is tangible and visible in states across the world. The Islamic social system provides a lifeline out of all of this, for it lays out a framework of laws to practically safeguard the dignity of women and protect the sanctity of marriage and the integrity of the family unit. Islamic social laws, such as the separation of men and women except for a need defined by the Sharia, such as work, education, buying and selling, seeking medical care, the prohibition of non-mahram men and women socializing or being alone together, khulwa, the obligation of men and women to lower their gaze to awra and attraction except to their spouse, the prohibition of any intimate relationships outside of marriage, and the prescription of a specific dress code for women that obliges them to cover their whole body except the hands and face in the presence of non-mahram men to whom marriage is permissible, as well as to wear the khimar, the headscarf, and the jilbab, the outer garment, in public life, and avoid tabarruj, beautification, in the presence of non-mahram men. All of these laws direct the incitement and fulfillment of the sexual desires to marriage alone and establish a respectful and safe interaction between men and women in society and a healthy cooperation between the genders, which enables women to have an active public life while also protecting their dignity. In addition, the Islamic social laws organize the rights, roles and responsibilities of men and women within marriage and family life in a detailed and complementary manner. For example, it defines the man as the guardian, head and financial provider of the family, while the woman is prescribed the role as the homemaker and primary caretaker of the children. And organizing the family unit in this way helps to create harmony within marriage, minimize disputes over rights and duties, and provides an effective means to resolve marital disputes and disagreements in a manner that they don't escalate to further problems, including the breakup of marriages and family units. However, brothers and sisters, this distinguished Islamic social system and all the blessings that it brings for women, family life and society cannot materialize in a comprehensive way without the existence of the Islamic political system, the Khilafah, based upon the method of the prophethood, which implements all of the laws of Islam upon a state and would build the correct understanding of the Islamic social laws amongst its citizens through its distinct education system and media policy. And we saw historically how the Khilafah implemented the Islamic social laws upon a state and effectively regulated the relationship between men and women in the society and controlled their mixing. We saw, for example, the building of separate secondary schools for girls and boys under the Uthmani Khilafah, such as the Tahira Hatun Girls Only School in Istanbul, and the eminent girls' school in the harem of the Khalifa's residence of the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, renowned internationally for the quality of education it provided to its students. We saw how the Khilafah ensured separate wards or hospitals for men and women with gender-specific nursing attendants to care for the ill, such as the magnificent Al-Mansuri Hospital built in 1284 in Cairo, which provided its patients first-class medical care. We also saw how the Khilafah provided special women-only marketplaces, such as the Avrat Pazari in the Uthmani Khilafah, where women could sell their own products and trade goods and only women were allowed to enter. Under the Khilafah, Qadis also employed women as court auxiliaries to undertake various tasks, including entering the private space of women in their houses if needed for investigation in court cases, rather than using male officials in order to ensure the dignity of women was maintained, as obligated by Islam. We see that under the Khilafah, even the architecture of buildings was influenced by the social laws of Islam. Windows of houses were raised above eye level on the streets. Central and side courtyards were built in homes rather than front and back gardens. Rawashin or balconies with windows covered with screens and barriers, and the building of harems, living quarters for women within households, all prevented people from looking into the private lives of families and enabled women to enjoy their home life in their home clothes away from the sight of strangers and non-mahram men, maintaining their dignity and privacy. Under the Khilafah, scholars even insisted that the platforms of the minarets or roofs of mosques were surrounded by high walls so that the muazzin could not see into people's homes. Subhanallah. The consequence of the comprehensive implementation of the Islamic social system and all the laws of Islam under the Khilafah in the past is seen in the level of seriousness by which individuals and rulers within the state regarded protecting the dignity of women, both domestically and internationally. Domestically, we see how it impacted the view and conduct of men towards women. For example, the 19th century French traveller and architect A.L. Castellan, who travelled through the Uthmani Khilafah, said, "Turks, referring to Ottoman men, are extremely respectful to women. They consider it a sin to stare at women in public places." Islam's unrivaled view of protecting the dignity of women, embodied in its social system, was also manifest in the actions of those who ruled the Muslims under the Khilafah state. In 2016, a book in the Ottoman Khilafah archives was found by a Turkish newspaper, Sabah, and the book, entitled Kadın, the Woman, consisted of a collection of documents on women's affairs compiled by the Ottoman administration. And they described the woman as Taj al-Dawla, the crown of the head of the state, and urged statesmen to avoid harming women and to make every effort to preserve their dignity. And this was the principle demonstrated by the Khalifas of the past, who mobilized their armies to defend the honor of Muslim women, as we saw in the 8th century when Khalifa al-Walid bin Abdul Malik mobilized a formidable army led by the great Muslim general Muhammad ibn Qasim to rescue a group of Muslim women and children who were imprisoned by the oppressive Indian Hindu king Raja Dahir, and brought Sindh in modern-day India under the rule of Islam in the process. But today, in the absence of the Islamic rule of the Khilafah, we see Muslim girls in the Indian state of Karnataka denied entrance into their schools and colleges because of their hijab. And we see Muslim women in India offered for sale by Hindu extremists in order to degrade and humiliate them. And we see Muslim women in Kashmir living under the most brutal occupation and persecution, with threats of sexual assault and rape by Indian soldiers, and yet no ruler, no state, no leadership comes to their aid. Brothers and sisters, this is the consequence of the collapse of the Khilafah upon the lives of Muslim women globally, as is the decimation of the family structure in our Muslim lands caused by the absence of the implementation of the Islamic social system by the Khilafah state. In Malaysia, for example, the divorce rate increased by 13% in just 1 year, 2018 to 2019, to over 45,000. In Indonesia, from 2017 to 2020, there was almost a 50% rise in divorces, reaching over 400,000 each year. That's 50 every hour. And all this is alongside the erosion of the Islamic identity of Muslims, leading to many of our youth rejecting Islam, as well as the huge rise in extramarital relationships, the spread of the toxic celebrity culture and lifestyles, the celebration of destructive liberal sexual freedoms, and the surge of sexual crimes against women in our lands. Reported cases of rape and other violence against girls and women in Indonesia, for example, increased by 66% from 2016 to 2019 to 430,000. Brothers and sisters, is this the future we want for our lands, for our families, for our youth, for our sisters and daughters? No. Then we call the Muslims of Malaysia and across the world to work with urgency and your full efforts to establish the system of Allah, the Khilafah, based upon the method of the prophethood. For the Islamic social system will not be implemented perfectly except under this state. Islam will not be implemented comprehensively except with its rule. And the dignity of Muslim women cannot be protected except with this Islamic leadership. Islam kaffa hanya tari lisasi di bawah Khilafah. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu